gentlemen, I just want to say thank you very much for being here. This is just the beginning of the fruitful relationship that will go on for many years to come. We have both President of the Leeward Islands Cricket Board and President of Bermuda Cricket Board on the call for this signing of the MOU between both companies. Calvin, if you want to give any words from the Bermuda's end before we give the two presidents a chance to speak, before we do the official signing.
Yes, on behalf of the Bermuda Cricket Board, I think this is a very historical and significant moment in the long history that has been made through cricket. The president will speak to it a little bit later, but he also recognized the significance of the heritage between these two bodies, with many of our ancestors having made their way to Bermuda through the Leeward Islands and the West Indies. And at this moment, we see a bright future ahead of us, and I would like to pass it over to my president, Mr. Lloyd Smith, who also had a vision years ago to make this happen.
Mr. Smith, I think you're on mute at the moment.
Yes, good afternoon, guys. As my executive director said, this is a pleasure for me and on behalf of the Bermuda Cricket Board to be actually signing this MOU with Leeward Islands. When I spoke to Leeward Islands the first time, I spoke to Mr. Lewis. Just had to remind the relationship that our country actually has with the Leeward Islands, with, I would say, quite a bit of our people in Bermuda that has that historical background and ancestral background with the Leeward Islands, St. Kitts, Antigua, and Nevis. So it's a great to be actually linking up with it feels like family, because how we treated each other during this negotiation or coming to an understanding of the MOU has been like talking with family and actually feeling a part of both heritage. So it's a pleasure for me on behalf of the Bermuda Cricket Board to be actually signing this MOU. Okay.
Thank you. President Lewis?
Well, Leeward Island cricket, gentlemen, as you probably would be aware, is of an extended history, and history that spans over 100 years. And we have produced greatness, and everything that we get involved with, we expect excellence. And we would not have gotten into this relationship if we thought that we were not building on the foundation that has already been started. I want to thank, the Bermuda Cricket Association for seeing the vision in terms of this relationship. We on our end, we are comprised of 8 islands, including some US and British Virgin Islands. So we are divided by water in a lot of places. In every case, we have 8 islands, but we are united as one. We have a single purpose, single objective, and that is to be the best franchise in the Caribbean. And so we're happy today to be partnering with the Bermuda Cricket Association, and we look forward to a long, fruitful, productive relationship, one that will go from strength to strength and will serve both Bermuda and the Leeward Islands in a very positive way. Thanks again for the vision and for being here today.
Thank you, President. Calvin, if you want, we can throw it out to the media online. I know President has the MOU, or do you want to go straight into the MOU signing, where Mr. Lewis will then sign the MOU, and we have the official signing?
I suggest let's sign the MOU first. Let's complete all the formalities, and then the media can ask their questions.
President Lewis, take it away.
Let me try and get this down. So I don't know how you can see my signature being applied. Trying to find an angle where I can apply
Just
my.
sign it and then you can hold it up. You can sign it and then hold it up. Yeah.
And then roll it up. Okay, I will do that. Okay. All right, fine. Okay, here we go. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. So that's the document signed.
So the document was already signed by President Smith. So to make it fully authorized and compliant, it was now signed by the president of the Leeward Islands Cricket Board, Mr. Lewis.
Yes, therefore the MOU having been signed is now in full compliance between both companies, and we start what is supposed to be and will be a beautiful relationship going forward. We now open the floor to any questions from the media.
The MOU, what are the details in it regarding both countries? What are the details?
The MOU as it stands, I will just read some excerpt to it so you can understand. The MOU speaks to cooperation between both the Bermuda Cricket Board and the Leeward Islands Cricket Board in terms of players and officials, also offering both boards the ability that players from either one could come and play in the leagues of the other, and also officials to include umpires, scorers, and so forth, in a way to broaden the relationship between both territories, with the ability of giving our players and officials exposure, which would indeed enhance the cricket between both territories.
And if you asked about what contained in the MOU, but in addition to that is the purpose of this memorandum, and I'll just read it for you as well. It states that the purpose of this memorandum is to underpin the development of what is hoped will become a long-term partnership between LICB and BCB.
Lloyd, when your organization started to look at this as a possibility, what was some of the talk around the table as to how the Leeward Islands could assist Bermuda cricket in getting stronger? Is it more geared towards starting up with the youngsters moving up, or what was that talk around the table? You're muted. You're muted.
It was more for the development as well as research and exchange of information between both countries. So that was our main thing, which we, in our memorandum of understanding, there's also a clause in there for under 15, under 17, and under 19 participation between both nations going forward. So that was our main goal in trying to push this memorandum through.
Mr. Lewis, when does your season run? I'm only asking to ensure that the two seasons don't overlap. So if we have umpires or new umpires who want to get some experience, and or players that want to get some experience, that it's not an overlap of seasons where people from Leeward Islands could come and play in our league and or participate, as well as Bermuda heading to Leeward Islands. You're muted as well. You're on mute.
You're on mute, President Lewis.
Sorry. Our season runs similar to Cricket West Indies. We participate in all the competitions that Cricket West Indies have, and they won pretty much starting with the Super 50 somewhere around November, and then you have the the 4-day tournament, then you have on the 15, on the 17, on the 19. So it pretty much runs throughout the whole calendar year, because even when we're not in competition mode, we are in practice mode, we're in developmental mode. And I would imagine that, whatever happens is that we'll be able at some point in time to participate directly in terms of players or with officials in the Bermuda season. And we also expect that, coming from Bermuda, we'll have participation in our cricket as well.
Yeah, so one of the things I wanted to add to what President Lewis is stating is that in the Leeward Islands, we have a professional team called the Leeward Islands Hurricanes, which plays in the West Indies professional setup. And then we also have teams throughout the various age group. And we also have a female team. Before COVID, we were actually supposed to launch our first under 19 female team this year that would have taken part in the West Indies competition. However, that competition has been cancelled for this year. So we have a whole suite of teams in terms of from the senior team in the men all the way down to under 15 in youth. So with the season being, as the President Lewis would have stated, literally throughout the calendar year, you will have off-season for the senior men, which works well with the Bermuda season, because they'll be pretty much finishing our season at the end of April. So they'll be off in order to play in the Bermuda League. And also Bermuda will also take part in the under 15, under 17, under 19 tournament, which we play as a lead up to the Cricket West Indies tournament. So it will also benefit our youngsters getting to play against, experienced guys in Bermuda, and as well as Bermuda's youngsters getting to play against guys outside of their home territory.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Dexter Smith, editor and head of sport at the Royal Gazette. The first question I have is for the president of the Bermuda Cricket Board. Given the present state that we're under, and with the 2020 season being under significant threat because of the COVID-19 pandemic, when can we see the fruition of this newly signed MOU? How soon can we anticipate this being put into action?
You're muted.
The MOU will pretty much kick in place right away. It's not just about exchange of players, but it's all exchange of information, courses, technology, and all that type of stuff. It's not just about the player aspect of it and league and that type of stuff. So the MOU will kick in place right away, as well as when it comes around to talking about player movement, competitions, and playing in each other's competition. The talks will really taking place when we understand when both organizations, health departments allows, and also to travel amongst, to get to St. Kitts and get to Bermuda, we all got to travel to the United States. So that all depends on what we can do when it comes to players exchange and teams and training facilities and all that type of stuff. So, but right now the MOU should be kicking in place right this week. Me and Vernon has talked about a few things. He was also on board our first webinar, which we done with Darryl Collington. He was on board with that. So the change of information and technology, and it's ongoing.
Okay, a supplementary question to that. Are we any nearer to salvaging anything of 2020?
You're talking about local cricket?
From a domestic cricket standpoint.
Oh yes, we're very close to salvaging. As it all depends on the clubs, but from the Bermuda Cricket Board's point of view, with us the clubs being able to start training as of last week, all the clubs have went to a pre course up at PAC on Saturday to show them how to train with social distancing. So this week, as of Sunday, some teams started training, and this is a week I know teams are training are starting training as of today. So hopefully in the next phase we're allowed to play cricket, And that's the proposal we put to government, and we haven't heard any different as yet. So as soon as we hear about the next phase, we see if we're included, and we should be looking to start playing cricket in the first week of July.
All right. Now, a bit of a sort of like a two-pronged question for Mr. Lewis. There's part of this MOU has to do with the exchange of players. Now, we're aware, obviously, of the proud history of Leeward Islands and the players that you've produced for West Indies cricket. Is there anything in there that may preclude professional players from coming across? Or are we looking primarily at players who are at developmental level?
I don't see any hurdle at the moment that will prevent us from having players come across. Is that we're not even talking about just current players. We, as you mentioned, we and I indicated previously, we have produced excellence in the Leeward Islands. We're talking about Viv Richards, Andy Roberts, Curtly Ambrose, Richie Richardson, El Comido, Willett, Parry, and the list goes on. So we've produced excellence, and we're hopeful that at the end of the day, we will have a partnership with these players who will, accompany us on certain visits to Bermuda to sort of build the sports there as well as promote Leeward Islands cricket. As it is right now, our players are those professional players who have made the West Indies team. Some of them are going to be signed to Cricket West Indies, and except the visit clash with commitments to Cricket West Indies, then there shouldn't be any other hurdle there that will stop them from accompanying us, because they will be under contract with either Cricket West Indies or Leeward Island Cricket Board.
Okay, thank you. And supplement to that, because we were on a webinar a week and a bit ago with Darryl Cullinan, and this important point was brought up in relation to Bermuda and the likelihood, obviously, that we're not going to play Test cricket, and our best avenue really for international exposure is for our individual players to go out there and quote unquote make a name for themselves, by extension put Bermuda on the map. Is there any tentacles in this MOU that are designed to facilitate a way into the franchise? So we're talking now about the T20 franchise.
You mean you mean like CPL?
Yes.
Okay.
Because historically, especially
I don't see any reason why a player from Bermuda who is good enough would not make it onto the CPL scene. Because think about it, the teams, the different franchises are looking for the best players from around the world. It doesn't matter where you're based. Once you can perform, once you can deliver the service that they're looking for, I would think they would be inclined to hire your services. And one of the ways that could happen is that players come over, participate in our league, which will then present them to a wider audience. And having been seen at that level, you can never tell. There's the St. Kitts Nevis Patriots, the franchise that is based in the Leeward Island, but there are other franchises around as well. So I'm expecting once there's excellence, once the performance is up to par, and the services and the services of the different players will be in demand, and I guess we'll probably go to the highest bidder. But I think that's one of the opening that this new relationship will create.
Okay. And finally, is this an open-ended MOU, or is there a time limit on this?
It is in the first instance for, Peter, help me, is it 2 or 3 years?
It isn't for the first instance 3 years, but we hope that we will just keep renewing this going forward, as we just see this as a start. So we're hoping that 20, 30 years from now, we look back and there will still be MOUs in place.
Thanks much.
Cal, we in Bermuda, you know how government operate and visitors and so forth. Have you had any talks with the Minister of National Security regarding players being allowed to stay and play during our time? And have you guys had the talks with the Leeward Islands government about people, I guess, overstaying whatever the regulations are?
Yeah, I'll pass it on to Lloyd because I believe he's had some informal chats, but Lloyd could probably address this question better.
Yeah, we have had some informal talks with National Security Ministry. You know, right now, National Security Minister is dealing highly with the COVID-19. So after we get out of this crisis, we're going to have more serious talks with them. But we have approached them, and they have seen, you know, variety. I mean, they seem like they're on board in the perception and the presentation that we presented to them that it shouldn't be a major problem.
What about the rules and regulations in the Leeward Islands? Can a player or can someone come in? Would they need a work permit? What sort of requirements would they need to be there for approximately 4 or 5 months playing league cricket?
Well, as it stands now, if you enter anywhere in the OECS, you will get 6 months visitors residency. We have professional cricketers who Leeward Islands Cricket Board is based in St. Kitts, but we have professional cricketers who come from outside the OECS, outside of St. Kitts. And there's arrangements made. We will just apply and the courtesies will be given. We have a good relationship with the government, both in St. Kitts and in Antigua, where we tend to move our practice sessions between St. Kitts and Antigua, given the situation. And if the tournament is going to be in Antigua, it's easier for us to have our camp in Antigua. And it wouldn't be any issue. I don't foresee any issues with the government granting time for players from Bermuda coming to play cricket in the Leewards.
Yeah, and just let me just add to say that one of the things that we have done is ensure that we build relationship with the governments, so that matters like these we can either handle officially or sometimes unofficially through a conversation. But so that's the level that the relationship we have built, and we try to keep them abreast of everything that we do pretty much. We haven't had any challenges so far as it relates to work permit, and we don't anticipate that will change. As you probably know, cricket has been connected to these islands for a significant amount of years. It's we have sports tourism. It's part of the sports tourism program, and it's actually encouraged. So we don't anticipate any challenge in that regard.
All right. Well, congratulations, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
If I can chime in just so that you guys don't close, if I can get a cheeky question in, Lloyd. Do you see cup match Eastern Counties cricket going on in the present environment?
Maybe you should ask.
Knowing what we know now.
Maybe you should ask the Eastern County president.
I could do.
Because the cricket board has nothing to do with either of those competitions, other than involving cricket in Bermuda.
I would have to go with our bears. We don't have nothing to do with those competitions. When it comes to running and them being in place, I know that cup match is still trying to get that played, and I couldn't speak for Eastern Counties because Eastern Counties president's right there. He could probably talk on Eastern Counties, but right now with the
Mr. Douglas.
Right now with the phases that have been put in place when it comes to sports and sports bodies, the perception right now is phase 4 until sporting clubs are even allowed to open their clubs. So, and the facilities. So unless that phase 4 comes before July, I really don't see cup match being played. That's my perception.
And that goes back to my original question about the domestic season, all cricket, because phase 4 does not allow for gatherings of more than 50 people.
Right. We have presented a proposal to government with not having clubs open on how cricket can be run with guidelines from ICC, as well as guidelines from other countries that are actually playing cricket right now. So at the present moment, if we're looking to have cricket being played without facilities, without clubs actually opening up facilities, so it means that we have games, but the bars and main facilities of the clubs would not be open, which will fit into what the health department has recommended until phase 4.
But you wouldn't be able to stop people coming to watch that.
We would have to actually, by, like I said, probably most likely we would have to send you a proposal that we put to government in reference phase 2. And then, like I said, we have phase 3 still on being negotiated with government. So I can't really give you all the details because I like them to basically come back to us and say yes or no. But our proposal has that information in there for government to understand how we can do it with the grounds being open, but not the facilities at the grounds.
Okay, fair enough. Because I'm only querying that with in the backdrop news that the England-West Indies series has just been confirmed and the dates confirmed. And we know they're going to be playing behind closed doors, but they have the mechanisms in place to enforce that. I'm not quite certain that we do, from a security standpoint, have machinations in place in our open air facilities. And most of our grounds are open, aren't they? So on any given day, if someone decided to watch cricket, you could have 1,000 people show up. Never going to happen, but you know what I mean.
Yes, we took that in consideration, and our proposal has that information provided to government. So hopefully that government will look at our proposal and find it, rather than we can come out with what regulations and what stipulations are going to be put in place.
Mr. Douglas, any thoughts on restricting Eastern County games to Ducks Puddle to keep people from coming? Is he muted?
This question to me?
Yes.
What's the question again?
Eastern counties.
Yeah.
Any thoughts to restricting Eastern counties matches to Ducks Puddle to keep people from coming?
Anything with that, we're in the process of meeting right now, and we will share with the media the relevant answers that's necessary. So hopefully within a week's time, there'll be a press statement made, and people will get what's going on with the Eastern Counties for 2020.
Hopefully sooner before the Football Association.
Pardon?
Hopefully in a quicker time frame than football.
We'll be quick. How about that?
Okay, fair enough.
All right. If there's no further questions, then I definitely think we need to thank the Leeward Island Cricket Board for being a partner of the Bermuda Cricket Board and signing this historic memorandum. And as our president has already noted, that this memorandum is not only about the playing of the game on the pitch, but is also exchanging ideas, joint conferences, seminars, and for coaching and umpires. So even though we are unable to get onto the pitch at the moment, we are now already in the phase of this memorandum where we are sharing ideas and actually starting this partnership. And as Peter Abrahams already said, the acting CEO, made this be a fruitful and long-lasting one, not only because of the sport, but because of the heritage between the two islands and the ancestry that has taken place over many years. So with that, we want to thank President Lewis, Peter Abrahams, our cricket operations manager, Mr. Springer, of course, acknowledge our domestic cricket chair, Mr. Douglas, and our president, Lloyd Smith, who had a vision and who has made it possible by following through continuously with Mr. Lewis and Mr. Abrahams and Mr. Springer to get a partnership going. And this partnership is very promising for Bermuda because when we talk about finances, this is something that can actually decrease the cost for some of our players to go to a jurisdiction which we're familiar with, similar climate, and it actually would extend the season. When we're playing 4 months of cricket and we are unable to play past September due to soccer or football, our players can now continue to train locally and look for even an international stage in a nice, warm climate, similar language, similar culture, similar diet. And we know our Bermudians will follow them for tourism, sports tourism, pride, and also drew the lineage between the Leeward Island and Bermuda. So this seems very promising, and hopefully the media will play a part by continuing to promote the sport, not only in Bermuda, but any releases that come from the Leeward Island Cricket Board domestically and internationally as well. Any closing words, President?
You're on mute.
You know, like I said, it is a pleasure for me to actually be that this actually agreement got signed. We also want to thank Vernon that kept both of us going, kept both organizations going and pushing for it. So I want to definitely give Vernon a good round of applause because he really came on and said, look, Lord, we can get this done. Just bear with the Leeward Islands, and I tell him just bear with us as well because we was going through something at the time. So I'm really happy that Vernon kept with it.